Now I would like to introduce our next speaker for those who are joining us now. Our next speaker is Dr. Diane Murphy, and she is here with us to discuss how to design the 2022 Cybersecurity Talent Development Roadmap. She has shared really insightful thoughts about cybersecurity just now in the panel session, and now she will be talking about some more approaches to cybersecurity training, and she will be sharing amazing insights with us. Dr. Diane Murphy is an established thought leader. She is a professor at the Marymount University, Virginia, and the director of School of Technology and Innovation at Marymount University. She joined this university 20 years ago after a long career beginning in chemical informatics in the pharmaceutical industry in Europe and the US. Dr. Murphy was a serial entrepreneur, founding and managing a software development company followed by a technology training company. She has published over 25 papers in the past 10 years. She is a frequent speaker at academic and professional conferences, and she also holds several prestigious awards. As a reminder to all of our attendees, this conference is being recorded. We will have Q&A at the end of this presentation. Please use the Q&A tool if you have a question for the speaker. The stage is all yours, Dr. Murphy. You can now share your content and unmute yourself. Thank you so much.
As was introduced, I'm an academic. I work extensively in the cybersecurity workforce area. So I just want to discuss a little bit today about, the cybersecurity talent gap, and why it's getting bigger and not smaller, and what governments in the US here are trying to do about it, how we might improve our talent pool, and so on. I also want to address a little bit about diversity. We talked about it in the previous panel, but I think it's a really important part of cybersecurity today. So here's just some numbers for you from various different studies. This is just a quick snapshot of the talent gap as we see in the United States today. The estimate is about 715,000 jobs open, okay? And that's about a third of the jobs that are available. And I just want to highlight this particular website for you. It's called cyberseek.org, and it's a collaboration between the government and CompTIA, the certification people, and one of the employment companies. And it really does a good job at keeping us up to date on where the talent is short and how much. So here you see from this map that there's a shortage of cybersecurity talent, mainly on the East Coast, in Virginia and New York, and on the West Coast, as you would expect in California, but also in Texas and Florida and so on. So this is a really good way of looking at where the jobs are. It also ties into the NIST framework and tells you all about the types of jobs that you could do. Okay, so again, as part of the discussion on what is cybersecurity, it's a really growing field over the last 10, 15 years, and it includes a variety of different entry-level, mid-level, and advanced level jobs, right? So if you're starting out and you want to get into the field, you might come in as a cybersecurity specialist, okay? Or a cybercrime analyst if you're into digital forensics, or incident and intrusion analyst, or even as an IT auditor, right? So all sorts of different jobs, different skills. Maybe you have a lot of business skills, in which case you may want to look at an IT auditor. If you're looking at a very technical, you may want to come in as a cybercrime analyst. Lots of positions, some are technical, some are not. And so, this is particularly important for females who sometimes think that you have to be a nerd type person to get into cybersecurity. Lots of other jobs out there in intelligence, in business, in training, all these different aspects of it. What we are now seeing, though, in cybersecurity is really a set of specialized roles, okay? So you might see a job as an identity and access manager, right? Or a secure DevOps, where you're looking at being a coder, but getting into the cybersecurity area, okay? So again, you know, cybersecurity is a problem, we know that. How do we get people into cybersecurity to try and solve some of the cybersecurity talent gap? Okay, and it's not easy to get into the field, right? For a start, there's no real common job descriptions. You know, every company seems to have slightly different requirements, slightly different ways of expressing what they really needs, right? So sometimes they ask you for very specific technical knowledge, such as cryptography, or maybe a special tool such as Splunk. Very often, though, in cybersecurity, they're also going to be asked for certifications. The most common one at the entry level is Security Plus, which is a CompTIA certification, right? And again, you know, non-technical skills are also becoming increasingly important in cybersecurity. You got to be able to communicate to a user what their problem is and how to fix it. A lot of teamwork today, not necessarily all in one location as I have here, but maybe remote, right? But problem solving is really key. We also see many jobs, even the basic entry-level jobs, looking for some workforce experience, right? Sometimes they ask for 2 years. Sometimes they'll just look as an internship. As long as you have had some hands-on experience, then they are much more likely to invite you in for an interview rather than if you just have book knowledge. So again, can't stress enough the use of labs such as with Extreme Labs, okay? So again, you know, one of the problems that we do have is how hard it is that employers say to fill their cybersecurity positions, right? You know, very often there's a lot of pressure on them to fill it quickly. And what we're finding is that instead of the traditional you apply, they interview you, we find a lot now of people going out there looking on places like LinkedIn for the skills that they're looking for, okay? And again, you know, this is a different way of being recruited. You have to be out there. You have to have a good LinkedIn profile. Much better if you post on LinkedIn with some piece of information. But they are really looking now on sites like LinkedIn rather than putting out a job and waiting for resumes to come in. Okay, so again, you're going to need some cybersecurity knowledge, skills, and abilities. Lots of ways of doing that. I'm an academic, so I believe in you know, college education, but today that's not the only way to get a cybersecurity job, right? So there are a lot of certifications out there, a lot of certification boot camps and things like that, which can in themselves be a really good way of getting your entry point into a cybersecurity career, okay? We're now seeing very much now at the high school level, cybersecurity being a program that you can now do at high school here in the United States and land up with that precious certification, okay? If you're a little bit more academic, you may want to think about going to a community college or a 4-year school to get some more in-depth knowledge. Now, we're finding that people can get jobs without a college degree. However, 5 or 6 years down the road, then maybe you need to come back and think about that degree if you want to get into some sort of management role, okay? So again, you know, what are they looking for? Energy and enthusiasm for the field. Make sure you know what's going on in the world, right? If there is a new virus out there, Log4j or whatever, make sure you know about it, because those are the sorts of things that are going to come up in an interview, okay? They want to see that you can grow, right? They want to see that you have good non-technical skills, Okay, so again, a good rounded person who can communicate well, who can solve problems, and can demonstrate that. Right. The big thing with students when they go for interviews, people want evidence. It's okay to say, "Oh, I can program in Python," right? But you have to think about a question they might ask you to prove that you know something about Python. Cryptography is another very common question they ask in interviews. So again, companies are competing for the same talent. This is one of the whole issues that we sort of have in cybersecurity right now. Instead of recruiting new people, they want people from experience, and so people are moving from company to company. So again, how can they attract people, right? And so again, if you're a student and you're just going out to get a job, look around for signing bonuses. Okay, so according to a ZipRecruiter's report on the current graduating class, 33% of graduating hires received a signing bonus, right? Okay, with an average about $28,000. That's a real nice start to your real world experiences. Okay, so again, people are not just looking for a job. I want to make sure I have somewhere where there's good training. We talked a little bit on the previous panel about the importance of hands-on training. So if I as an employee can get that, that's great. I want a career pathway to know what's happening. I don't want to be sitting in a SOC center on the night shift for 2 years, right? I want to know how I can progress in cybersecurity, okay? And again, many of the young people today also are into volunteering. So time off for volunteer work is another big perk that might be useful in the field. So again, I cannot stress this enough, this whole idea that you can't get a job without experience, even if you're just beginning, right? So even for many entry-level jobs, we need to get you with some hands-on learning, okay? So again, traditionally that was done through an internship, but that's become really hard today. Some of it, the impact of the pandemic, where most people either canceled their internship or actually made it remote, and it wasn't quite the same as being inside a company. So again, if you can work hard to get an internship, that's really valuable. You got to start early. If you're looking for an internship, say next summer, you really got to start in October when the large companies start promoting their internship. So planning is very important. I just want to bring up diversity. We are not at all diverse in cybersecurity. And if you look at some of the data, we're going down, not up. So in 2019, 30%. 2021, 20%. Okay, so that is a huge drop in the number of women, right? Some of that is the impact of the pandemic, in that many women were more impacted with childcare and other things and had to leave the workforce. Okay, so women is important dynamic that we're trying to encourage. Lots of different ways that we can make cybersecurity not so much a hacker's job, but more a caring job where we're caring for the nation's security. And then there's also a huge lack of ethnic diversity in the cybersecurity workforce, right? Okay, where only 4% are Hispanic and 9% are Black. Okay, so again, this idea that we need all these different opinions, thought processes, experiences, if we're going to make a significant impact on the cybersecurity talent gap that we have today. So again, some of the advice that I have to companies is really, think about expanding internships or apprenticeships or R&D also, right? Okay, and also, again, be sensitive to hiring new entrants, right? Look for talent, okay? And maybe offer the training that they're lacking rather than rejecting them out of hand.
Dr. Murphy, thanks so much for persevering despite some technical issues. And you made fantastic time. I do have a question for you here. It looks like there might be some folks new to cybersecurity in the audience. So, what would be your biggest piece of advice for someone who is currently in an IT field, has some maybe cloud certifications to their name, and is interested in getting into cybersecurity?
Okay, you need to look initially, I believe, for a cybersecurity certification. Okay, most people know and respect Security Plus. If you're already in IT, you're going to know most of that basic stuff about technology and how it works, and just learn the extra bit of knowledge through a course or boot camp or read a book. And that Security Plus, I believe, would be the easiest way to get into the field.
Okay, fantastic. And you gave some really great advice to organizations on how they can train up, retain, and encourage folks to stay in cybersecurity despite the many challenges that you mentioned. At kind of a global level, if we're taking a step back and looking at it from a slightly broader perspective, what do you think are challenges that you think we will be overcoming maybe in the next generation or two? What problems do you think will be getting harder as time goes on?
Well, I think our attackers are getting more sophisticated, okay? And they are starting to use artificial intelligence, machine learning, all those new tools, right? And so again, we have to be prepared for different attacks than we get now, okay? However, I do believe that we could also use those tools. So maybe our talent gap might grow less because we could use artificial intelligence, machine learning, all those new technologies to help us detect when an incident is happening. So there's pluses and negatives as the technology changes.
I really like that, Dr. Murphy, kind of a global roadmap for our technological future.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you so much again for being here with us again, Dr. Murphy. We loved having you as part of the panel and here, of course, in this session. Thank you so much.